Welcome,
Hello.
everyone, to another series of Mindability Matters. I'm sorry we're a bit late today. I was having such a good chat with Irene. We forgot the time. So, if that doesn't tell you today's going to be a good session, then I don't know what is. Um, I love Irene. We've been working together for a while. She is just this most magical person who has such a breadth and depth of experience. She is fascinating. She's the founder of Roire HR. She has a really interesting background and a really great take on where we're at with the world of work. But rather than me wax lyrical, Irene, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Wow, I don't know if I could do any better. Thank you. Um, I'm one of the founders of Roire HR Services. I've been, as I was talking with Sam, I've had so many different hats, different careers throughout my life. Started off in restaurants and journalism, advertising and sales, and then found my recent d'etre, as I was saying, in HR, starting off as a recruiter. Um, when I started off as a recruiter, and probably and I know so many people are going to say, as we were saying, that, oh no, but it was one of the worst economic times of
Oh,
recent history, which is just after the dot com. I started as a recruiter, and anybody who is as old as we are that remembers the dot com, it was for several years people were out of work, and here I am working at working at a recruitment agency trying to find jobs for people. And that grew. I worked in a bunch of recruiting agencies for a while, and I got my big break as an internal HR person with Kaspersky, and worked there for a really long time. I oversaw North America, South America, then I also had Turkey and South Africa, and did a lot of great work there, and continued with a bunch of other tech companies and cybersecurity companies, um, building there. And that's where Roire came out of, is that I was actually building their HR departments from scratch. They had nothing. So, setting up their strategies, the plan, implementing it all, everything from recruitment to onboarding, the whole, right to the end of life, that whole employee life cycle. Um, and it's something I really enjoy. And I said, you know what? Why don't I just start my own company instead of making money for everybody else? And here I am. So, if you're looking for somebody to help out, I always say, like we say, we focus on your product, and I'll take care of the rest. And that's where we're at. You won't need me for a while. I guess we were saying too, is I make myself redundant by creating all these processes and such for you, and then hand that off to somebody junior, and you're all set to maintain
Oh, I love that. And I wasn't
Yeah.
sure where you were going at the beginning because I know you talked about LinkedIn and,
Oh yeah.
just that you were there right at the start of LinkedIn and look where it is
Mhm.
today in terms of where that is. Um,
Yes.
which is huge. And I think we need to talk about that in a moment. We're
Mhm.
so much to talk about with you, but I'd love to take you back to something that you said a moment ago, which
Mhm.
so many consultants hold on too long. But your pragmatic approach, which is we'll come in, we'll help build your department, we'll get the systems and processes right, we'll get the infrastructure right, because we want to be making ourselves redundant in 12 to 18 months' time and
Mhm.
handing off to an individual, therefore, who can just maintain and run that side of things. That's really appealing to companies today where overheads and headcount is
Mhm.
back in focus again, isn't it?
It's very true. Yes. And I found that a lot when I was working. They would hire me as an employee for very small companies, and when I get in there, I'd be like, you really don't need me here. Not yet. With my my experience, my background, you're kind of over hiring, and so in a couple of years I'm going to get bored, and which I would, and that's where I started thinking, what if I could have a create an organization where, okay, tell me where you need to go, where you want to go. Is it going to be an acquisition play with your company, or do you want to be the next Microsoft? Okay, here's how you're going to do it. This from my, not just for their specific company, but from my experience, put that strategy, because you need people to create and grow your company no matter what you do. So here's your strategy, here's the plan, here's everything you need to do. It's all set up, it's all created. We can hire on somebody that's a junior that can not only maintain what I've put into place and train that person, offboard myself to that person, but then that person's also growing as an HR person into a better, a stronger role, because they're doing these things instead of just hiring a junior person who has no understanding of what's happening. They get overwhelmed, and then when you're finally in that growth spot where everything's crazy, now you're starting to think about hiring like a senior HR person who has to basically change tires on a speeding car. It doesn't make sense. That's so this way it's all set up, and you can just start moving on.
Yeah.
You keep talking, so I'm trying to stop.
No, I really like that analogy. You know, you can't change the tires on a speeding car as it's going down the motorway, right?
Mhm,
It's it it doesn't make sense, and yet so many companies do that.
mhm,
The other thing that we talked about that was really interesting, again when we're in the studio, is how more and more companies are coming to you to really open up and build satellite offices, particularly in,
mhm,
say, Central and Latin America.
mhm,
The fact that you're bilingual, I'm guessing, is a huge advantage here when it comes
yeah.
to being able to do that. What kind of, I know exactly, Brandy's just said it so well. Um, Changing tires in a speeding car, this is great. Yeah, such a great
Mhm,
analogy for me. What's the advantages for some organizations if they're thinking about that right now, thinking about opening
mhm.
satellite offices in that region?
So it's been a very common process in general as well. There's a lot of great um, technical people down. Again, I focus mostly with technology companies, but manufacturing and everything as well. Um, it's it, to be quite honest. I mean, your employees are. It's a lot less expensive to be hiring down in these areas. Of course, you have other overheads in regards to employment law and employment law practices, as well as in some countries you have um, sindicatos or labor unions that
Oh,
put into place as well. But it's still overall a less expensive um, venture to hire people down in Latin America. And you're also staying within that time zone of the US, Canada uh, areas, instead of like hiring a whole staff in India, for instance, which is also a very popular thing, but it's a 12-hour difference in some cases,
yeah.
which makes it hard to have those conversations. A lot of Latin Americans speak English very well. Argentina, I'm out of Argentina as well. And, it's a 22% of the people speak fluent English here. I think it was the last statistic I checked out. So you're looking at having that advantage, as well as, I mean, again, not to hit up on Argentina more, but with these new tariffs and stuff, we have a 0% tariff agreement with the U.S. now. Um, so there's a lot of opportunity that comes forth with opening up offices down here, or hiring teams and such.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's a good market too. I mean, on the sales side of things, it's another great market for for your company to start to break into, and not as highly regulated as it is in Europe, so to speak, which a lot of tech companies get
Yes.
upset
Yes.
about.
there is a lot of red tape and regulation,
Mhm.
that's for sure. And the other thing that we talked about, and I think it's so true, no, we were talking about members of your family who are early on in their career and thinking about,
Mhm.
well, what do I do and how do I do it? You and I both have had a really varied career to get where we're at today.
Mhm.
Personally, I'm really glad I haven't had a traditional a traditional approach. I started off in a typing pool. I got all my qualifications as I went along.
Mhm.
And back in the day where people were still smoking in the offices, and
Mhm.
it was a large organization and people would leave on a Friday to go to the pub and they wouldn't come back. But that was the era in which we were in,
Yeah,
right?
I remember.
Yeah, but I am super glad that I had that
Mhm.
variety of experience and expertise. I saw different sides of a business. I was treated differently because my titles were different over the years until
Mhm.
um, I kind of got fed up with taking the corporate Kool-Aid anymore. What were some of your experiences early on? Because so much of that, I'm pretty sure, has influenced where you're at today and the great work you're doing.
Oh, 100%. It definitely not only did it influence I mean, influence what I'm doing now, but it also influences how I approach what I'm doing as well. Um, I worked my way through school, like through high school as well as college, and in the restaurant business, bartending, waiting tables, and such. And anyone that's been in that industry knows that the connection, the camaraderie, that engagement. Everybody talks about employee engagement. There's no better employee engagement than what you. Well, I'm sure there are other industries, but restaurants have that intense connection. It's like you're in there as a team, the teamwork that comes together on that. And I think that I take that restaurant work and apply it to that insane startup mentality that you're always running, that nonstop busy rush that you would have in the industry, in the restaurant industry. So I look at that aspects of it, but then I also went into advertising and marketing, and I majored in journalism, but realized it wasn't going to pay me much. So you know, went into advertising and marketing. And my one of my first marketing jobs was at a company that still had a typing pool. We were
Oh,
all excited about email, like it was internal email, and oh god, my first job I actually had to remember the dot matrix
yes.
paper. Okay. So the dot matrix paper. So I had a boss that hated going through reports with that thing. So she would have me run because on the Xerox copying machines you could connect it, but you never did with the holes on the Xerox, so that it would run through and like photocopy each of the pages of the dot matrix so that she'd have it in a nice 8 by 10 thing. So it would get stuck and stuff. But I digress on that's something one of those PTSD things that
Oh,
happen.
my days.
But
We all have them.
yeah, but yeah, so I mean I went from there, and then I was recruited, like I said, I was in just after the whole dot-com bust and started recruiting, and I realized how cool this was, and it made me really feel good to help people find a good job, and not just like find a job. I don't know, 'cause I have a conscience or something, not just place somebody just for the sake of placing, but
Mm.
actually place somebody because it's really going to change their lives. And, relating to trying to find my jobs, find my reason for being, and going all over the place, and then making that connection of seeing how people are matched up right, and then be able to talk to my client, who's the company, and find out, wow, this person's doing really good, and this and that. And I realized that it's not just about the early on, I realized it's not just about the person's skills that you're matching up, but it's the environment, it's the culture, what it really means, and seeing that success. And it's such a good thing. And it's interesting, even on LinkedIn, I have these connections from years ago, and they'll follow back up with me and be like, you gave me my first graphic design job. I'll never forget this. You gave me my first graphic design job, and now I'm a CEO of a company. it's beautiful to see that growth. And and I don't know, I love it. I love seeing that. I love seeing the growth of the company and having put these things into place that just makes, the right it does happen when you can actually bring people in and have a right time and a right moment, and they're moving things forward and seeing their vision, both the company and the employer. It's just I, HR is awesome in that way. I think you're involved in so many things, and you're kind of like the farmer of growth. Uh,
I love that. You're popping them all out today.
I
Farmer of
don't.
growth, advantage cars and a speeding car. Yeah, anyone would think you come from a marketing background. Um, what's what's the dream for your business? You've done so much. You've come such a long way with it. You have such a refreshing view on the world. What's the dream for you?
Ooh, I would love to have. I'd like to see a team, like not just me and my husband, who's the employment lawyer, but to be able to really I could see us in a couple of years having a large group and having staff that actually comes in and is that I hate the word fractional HR, but I guess in a way we are, or consulting HR. Has to be a better word than fractional. It's just I don't know, but be able to have teams that go in and create these businesses, um, and help them grow, and have a whole sales team that comes in and helps the organization with their sales and customer service and things of that nature. So I can see that happening.
I love that. And
Mm.
again, just something you touched on there, that customer service piece is becoming more and more important, isn't it, in terms
Mhm.
of how that is now uh, embraced by employers to create the same feeling, the same methodology for employers, employees,
Mm.
sorry. And I always think, because I travel so much, when I go up to certain airlines, the whole experience is so different than,
Mhm.
say, if I fly Virgin, where from the person who is loading up your luggage to the person you meet at the check-in desk to the cabin crew to everyone associated has a very different vibe. So whatever
Mhm.
coaching or support they're being given as an organization and career paths, the result as a customer and consumer, I have such a great experience with them. They don't always get it right, and I've had terrible problems with them, but it's never down to people being rude or awful, or
Mhm.
it's a very different experience.
It's funny. I often hear about how, oh yes, it's interesting because we're in HR, so we know and we can see the difference that when the company treats their employees well, has good career paths, puts them on the right, it properly trains them when they're starting out and things, that whole onboarding process, it actually puts all of that into place. It really does shine through onto everything, not just your customer service team that's there, but everybody that interacts with the customer, your customer. My team, they were in HR, all any of my teams that I've had, that I always say that we're the first line of customer service. We're the first customer of our, first people of our potential customers. We're interviewing people. Eventually, they're going to be our customer, right? So, um, but it's funny that like a lot of companies will say it or something, but they don't actually play it in practice, and you can tell, and it's important. It's really important to have that into place because it will fail eventually. Um, I've I'm one of those rare people that actually likes American Airlines because in spite of their really bad operational aspects of things, I always interact with great customer. Everybody that I've ever interacted with has always been a delight. I don't know if that's me or if it's just how I've seen it. So, to me, that also shows that maybe with a strong customer, people who are being nice or having that good customer focus is because, they were trained well or they were hired, like they hired a certain, culture, a certain type of person that in spite of the hell and the disasters that are all going on behind them, they're still going to give their best because that's who they are inside as a person. So is it the hiring practices that actually it could, I mean, I would like to believe that's also the aspect too. You're hiring a certain type of person that will put all that behind as well. So, um, yeah, it's HR has a lot to do with bringing good business to the company, I would say as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I often really enjoy, say, Toby's conversations when he talks about, mutual lifetime value and being able to
Hmm.
translate that into the
Hmm.
employee experience and then being able to translate that into commercial terms. Um, and if more and more recruiters kind of took that approach and
Hmm.
used something like that, what a difference to be able to measure. Look, when we did it this way, here was the value, and when we did it this way, look at the difference in results. I think that would just be an awesome exercise to do.
It's funny that you say that because a lot of that those numerics and such are very marketing type numerics and data that that marketing uses to show this is how it's been improved, this is what's happening. And I often that's my number one. That's like, well, every department when I started a department, marketing is the first department I get to and see how they're measuring their data and their success because HR can do the same. And it's those, I mean, again, background in marketing, I know that that's how you would, it's the same process, the lifetime value. I mean, that's such a incredible data point to give to your CEO and say, here, this is what's happening. This is why investing in engagement programs and investing in, you know, doing certain things that will create a proper training program and such is so important for for organizations.
Totally. Yeah. And Brandy Ann, completely agree. The
I
people who
know,
break a company, 100%,
it's
a
so true.
100%. It's the little things, isn't it? You can have a big brand and go into a store at the weekend and you've got either two sales assistants who couldn't give a damn, or they're all over you like a rash. Both have the same impact, right? Both
Mhm,
require training for different reasons.
mhm,
Um, in terms of your role in how the world of work is evolving and what you'd like and the elements you'd like your organization involved in,
mhm.
what areas would you like to continue to move forward in better ways to create a better world of work?
Mm. It's funny, you can't talk about the future without talking about AI for sure. I mean,
Mm.
and it's fun. I have such a good relationship with my little chat GPT guy.
Me too.
We're buddies, I guess. But and it's interesting is that people start to say, "Oh, the sky is falling, it's the end of everything," and yeah, I mean, like we were talking about before, you just have to pivot. Like there's been so many changes since the late '90s in work and the industry and what's happening and such. I mean, we had typing pools. I
Right.
mean,
And
back
that's
in the
I
day,
start,
that's it.
yeah, they're all gone.
Yeah, they're all gone. So I mean, what happened to those people? What did they do? Um, and so I think with AI is. I mean, maybe in 10 years it's going to be a whole different scenario, but for right now, for the next 5 years, which I mean, I don't know, you can't really plan for beyond that. Um, utilizing AI for certain aspects is important, but AI still can't master strategy, real strategy, and pulling from experience, real experience. They can. AI can pull all this different data and information from the internet, but it's that real life experience that you can't get. That's not an AI situation. So you having that strategy, putting strategy to your needs, your problems, putting together a plan based off of that. Certainly you have the strategy, have the plan, and then you can go to AI and say, okay, help me out, you know, make it look pretty and fill in some stuff for me, and then I'll come in and fill in more. Because if you treat AI like an admin, you're all set. I look at it that way as far as the future. So I think, to answer your question, the future really is about, in our situation as well, is creating that strategy and that actual plan so you can move forward, and then you can automate everything else later. And
Yeah.
that's where I think a lot of people need to go to. And it's so hard. I can't begin to tell you how many times I've worked at companies where I'm trying to train a team on being more strategic, or coaching somebody to be more. It's like being strategic is the most difficult um, skill set, I guess, to
Oh,
to 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 help with, and to create, to build as well. It's really interesting.
it is really interesting and it is really
Mm,
difficult. And I think a lot of people underestimate that. How do you
mhm,
go about helping when you're helping to build out these teams to either showcase or translate some of your strategic knowledge so
mhm,
they can continue to maintain as a standalone HR and maintain the good work that you've already put in place and built?
mhm. So, queen of documentation here. Sometimes I've had people a long time ago say that I should have been a business analyst the way I document. But yeah, I mean, huge amounts of documentation, and that's not just, again, knowing people learn with different mediums. So I always document and add video. So it's
Right.
just full, right there. Documents, videos, how to's, this, that, the other, um, explanation. It's good because the way I provide my information, it's based off of how that person learns or how that person reads. Some people are very bullet point me, and okay, here's all your bullet points. One, two, step, go. It all depends on how that person likes their communication and their media, and I can adjust accordingly. And I think with that, it's also the walking alongside them. It's again, it's that offboarding aspect. Okay, here's how it goes. This is what happens. Okay, you've got it, and understand how to actually implement everything, or maintain, because you don't need. I usually implement, so it's just maintaining what has been created, and then what would be the ultimate goal, which, in a couple of situations, to teach them strategy. Okay, here comes something that comes up. I'm available, but they need to learn how to fish as well. So,
Yeah.
how do you strategically, what makes sense for them too? Do they need to do the logic maps, or kind of different types of ways to approach a strategic plan based off of a problem? So,
Yeah. Yeah. I often see business leaders completely underestimate, um, and there seems to be a lack of comprehension that the differentiator between an operational HR and a strategic
mhm,
HR and what
mhm,
that really is.
mhm. But I've got both.
Exactly. How what was your biggest challenge when you went from that operational HR to more of strategic HR?
To be honest with you, Um, I'm very much so operational. I can handle the operations and stuff, but if I had my choice, even 15 years ago, if you gave me a choice between being operational or strategic, I'd always lean towards the strategic, and then like find a way to offload my operations. I mean, I can implement, I can do that, but on a day-to-day in and out, it was funny, there was a time when I was working for one of my she's my favorite mentor woman, Pat, and she asked me, "What do you wanna do, recruiting or, the generalist work?" And in my mind, all this generalist work was, like, very operational, and
Uh,
I was like, "I wanna be a recruiter forever," because I didn't wanna deal with, like, data entry and things of that nature. Um, so how did I transition? Um, I think my transition really was is to in a way try to embrace more of the operation because it wasn't something that I really liked in the beginning. And so I like it. I like the again, I like the planning and the strategic
yeah.
aspects of the operations. But I mean, and I can do the data entry if you need me to like come in and input all your stuff for you into the HRIS and set up the HRIS. Happy to do it. Happy to set up an application and such. Um, the ATS or an HRIS, but I'm not going to be doing that for a whole year. It's
No.
like no. So yeah.
So something that was in the blood from early on. I love it.
Mm, yeah.
So lots of exciting things to come, and I love the variety of your projects from, the standalone setting up the HR departments and with a clear philosophy of making yourself redundant in 12 to 18 months to
Mhm,
helping companies from North America set up satellite offices in Central and South America. Are you seeing more companies look into that now in terms of being able that work from anywhere approach, or do you think people are still more cautious about that?
I see it particularly for development teams and customer support or tech support teams. I see a lot of them like looking into those options and what makes sense and moving things down. Like I mean, it's been going on forever, anyways. But I do see it, as an option more and more, and it does make sense. I mean,
Mm.
I hate to tell, like I know there'll be a lot of hate from the U.S., but I mean, why pay somebody 300,000 in Silicon Valley when you know? And it's unfortunate, but I mean that we can have a debate about economics and different countries and things of that nature later. But I mean that's the honest truth about it. And I do see that. I see them looking into it and how does that make sense? Um, I think the biggest challenge I've often seen as well is that some particularly managers who never really embraced remote work for various reasons, there's no collaboration or whatever, um, find it a little difficult to embrace having teams so far away from them. And, that brings in a whole different story of how do you map that out? Okay, well, this is what's going to happen. How do you map out a way to get you to feel comfortable about it? And it's really, back to remote work again. It's
Mm.
really about setting into place accountability and how you communicate and understanding communication and in its training. And there are ways to bond and get that connection that a lot of people say you miss in remote work. As a remote, you can bond. I've been working in remote work for since 2011, and so I have I have relationships with people I've never met,
Mm.
and I've had them since 2011, 2012, whatever. And I mean, we're connected. We know what's going on with each other, and I've never met them in person. And that's the difference is, and I'm in HR. Nobody likes HR, so I mean, I think of it that way too. So yeah, you can create good bonds, and you can create an environment where it's productive, and you don't miss that in sitting in an office type of relationship.
Yeah, and it's about that flexibility as leadership, isn't it? You know, really
Mhm,
understanding the kind of needs. And I was part of an interesting debate last year actually, where it was, if everyone has, say, the same budget for something, is that necessarily the right thing? And I said,
mhm,
tell me more about that. Well, you might be dealing with one employee who already has an office set up at home, a desk, a chair,
mhm,
um, a laptop, a stand, and all of those kind of things. And then again, you might have someone who lives in a studio flat, and the last thing they want is all of that equipment and that office at home. So therefore, is there a way that there's, say, different scales of budget, but obviously
mhm,
there's a limit where perhaps that person goes into a shared office space,
mhm,
and the investment is placed elsewhere with the same end results, and things like that. I hadn't really paid much thought to,
mhm,
um, but I think these are all the things that we need to be considering, if you know, not if, as we're entering
mhm,
more into a work from anywhere world. And you know, I know that there's some prejudices and biases I needed to get over, um, working with people from all over the world. If
mhm,
you know, there was one particular client who had a team in different parts of Kenya. So they were
mhm.
working out of the kitchen. The lights were bad, and there was lots of banging in the background, and I was kind of
Yeah.
wincing and everything else. And I realized so much of that was actually on me,
Mhm,
because the work was still getting done. We were
mhm,
on an internal call. Where else were they meant to go? We'd set them up with the wireless and everything else, and I, worked with my client to do that. There's a lot of learning for us to do, and that
mhm.
flexibility piece is going to be so important.
It's true. And think about how wonderful it was I mean, there's not a lot of jobs happening in Kenya that are, good, steady jobs that are going to be challenging. There's a lot of large corporations like Shell and such that
Yeah.
do have some businesses there, but a small business where you're really learning and doing things. I mean, not that you're not learning and doing things in a large company, but you really learn a lot in small companies. It's you're doing everything. And, those opportunities for somebody in Kenya, I mean, it's tough. It's really, and I know, especially with the tech companies, the Philippines is a big place to hire out of. A lot of VAs are out of there and such. But they would work like 2, 3 jobs and different shifts and such, and sometimes at the same time. But like, all these people are able to work remotely and take on and have a better life. Um, and you're right in regards to, where you are, what your setup is, it just all depends. And I can't work in a very noisy environment, but I
No.
know my husband loves like chaos and insanity, and that's how he works well. Um, but it all depends on how people work, and it gives that flexibility. And to your point as well with offices, I always find that it's best to just give people stipends, and then they can do whatever they want with it. Like they can buy a big screen, or go to a work space or something to that effect, that whatever makes sense for them. I mean,
Yeah.
again, working forever, I don't have my laptop right now is on a stack of books. That's the way I do it. It's just the way it is. So yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's fascinating.
Mhm.
Irene, I have three very important questions for you. Are you ready?
Oh, I am.
So I might change this up a little bit this week. What was the one film you've watched in the last 12 months where you really feel you will never get those moments of your life back again?
Ooh, there's been so many. I actually so it's been so bad that I've started watching, like, going back to the old school, like watching Alfred Hitchcock movies and such, because I
Oh,
haven't seen like any.
wow.
Yeah, like HBO has lots of good old school movies, and watching, you know, Audrey Hepburn stuff and everything like that. But the Alfred Hitchcock movies have been really good, so happy about that. But I'm trying to think of the last time I watched a really what the name of the movie was as well. You know, I think I've been avoiding them because I kind of just can feel it. I can't remember honestly, and I don't even remember the pretext of any of it either. A lot of times I'm not even really watching them anymore. My husband watches them. I'm just like, okay, whatever. So yeah, I can't answer that. I can't even think of one because I think I've after 5, 10 minutes, I'm like, all right, this is okay.
I love that though.
Yeah,
I haven't seen a good Alfred Hitchcock movie in a while, so I think that's being
yeah.
added to the list. Um, okay, favorite cheese.
My favorite cheese.
Mm.
Hmm. You know, it's okay. I love a good manchego.
Oh,
Uh, a nice sheep's one, a sheep's milk one as well. That's like my favorite. Um, but then I worked at this one restaurant where we would get a wedge of this cheese, this blue cheese that was made by this nun up in the Swiss Alps, and she only made 6 wheels of this cheese, and you could taste in this blue cheese the blades of grass, and like you could taste exactly what that cow ate. It was the most amazing cheese in the world. It was very stinky and gross, but I mean, the smell and everything was incredible, but it was really good. But I love a good manchego, and I have to say, in Argentina, they make meat. They don't make dairy cows, and it's been a tough road for me.
oh
So
wow.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I feel your pain. I do love a good cheese. I often say that my
Mm.
large tummy is very expensive. It's been well invested in. So my last question to you is: you're going on holiday, Irene, and
Mhm.
obviously, with every holiday, one needs to take a flotation device with you. Marcia didn't put much thought in at all to hers last week, and it all got very fancy. But what flotation device would you take, either for the swimming pool or sea, and what colour would it be?
Flotation device
Yeah,
color. Well, my color would definitely have to be something very bright so I can be spotted. I'm saying like in the sea or something like that. So something like an orange or a red or something like that. Um, I would probably want something that's more loungy, almost like one of those curved lounge chair
nice.
ones, but then at the same time has like bumpers because it'll be kind of like a curved lounge chair um small boat, I guess. Like with the bumpers up on the top so I can't fall off when I'm falling asleep, but then at the same time relaxed and such and bright so that you know I could be seen from above for rescue.
See, so much thought has gone into this. It's rapidly turning into my favourite of the silly questions I ask at the end because it's amazing some of the creativity that's going into this. Um, Irene, you have been a fabulous member of the business club for some months now.
Thank you.
If anyone's thinking about joining or on the fence, what has been your experience with it, and what would you say to them in terms of what you've seen and observed and the people you've met?
Well, you could have asked me that question at the beginning and we could have spent the whole hour on it. um, it's fun. I for a long time I was thinking about starting my own business, and then at the same time, for some reason, I don't know, maybe you have a very good stalker ads or something, but I kept seeing your stuff on LinkedIn at the same time I was thinking about everything, and so I thought and thought, and I'm really glad I joined. And the reason why is like we were talking about in the studio. Um, that transition from being in corporate in particular into your own business, which I thought would be easy for me, especially since, again, working remote, I'm very self-directed, I can do everything and such, but there's an element of accountability with your club because of the meetings that we have and the regular meetings we have. And so you want to go like I mean, every HR person it has that element of the person in the back in the day were ones that had to have everything done right and perfect, so you want to come to the meetings having accomplishments and this, that, the other. So it keeps you moving instead of kind of getting diverted off to other places. Um, the seriously, I haven't even had it. I mean, I've been with you for several months now, and I haven't had a chance to go through. I've gone through some, but all your templates and your setups. I mean, you have the kit. It's like there's no reason you can't start a business with an HR consulting company with what you've provided. I mean, everything from contracts to how to queue for Chat GPT to which CRM we should use, this, that, the other. There's so many benefits and documents that you have set up. It's amazing. I mean, it's the kit. It's a perfect kit. And then you have the meetings, the Wednesday meetings where everyone is together and you're learning something new about the business, about what's happening. And then you have I mean, there's so many things. There's so much information and benefit. And I actually looked at a bunch of other companies for consulting firms and this, that, the other that would help coach me through it. That you're the only one that I've checked out that provides all this information. And then you have this community. I mean, I haven't even touched upon the community yet. And the community, I mean, seriously, like the coolest people. I mean, really great people that we all interact together and are helping each other out. You have all of the chats and the side up too, so you can have conversations and learn about things. And we're not we're not like out to like, oh, you're my competition, forget you. No, like everybody realizes there's plenty of work out there. This is everyone to help each other, and everyone's just wants everyone to be successful. I mean, it's such a great organization. I mean, I can't. It makes me sad when I miss. It's like missing a day with the club is like missing a day at the gym. It's it's I could go on and on. It's really good company, really good organization. I
Irene,
love it.
thank you.
I
That's
know.
amazing.
Thank you. No, seriously, you've been very inspiring. Everybody has. It's been great. Uh, the things that
Well,
you and all the other Sam have helped me with. I mean, my God, pricing and everything, and like finding direction. It's just great. Really
yeah.
great.
Well, that's so kind of you. Thank you. And yeah, pricing is such a big one, such a big one. And,
Mm,
I'm determined that we keep talking about pricing because
mm.
I want you all to earn your worth and, build a business on your terms, not ours. So I appreciate that. And on that note, if anyone is listening to this today or watching the recording and they say, we need Irene, how do they get Irene in their life? How do they reach out and contact you?
You got my website, which has the contact us all over the place. So and then you'll be able to book a Calendly meeting and you can chat. My email as well, which through LinkedIn, everything. I mean, there's so many different ways. I don't know if I should be giving out my email or you can. I don't know.
If
It's just
if
as
you
easy.
feel comfortable, please feel free to
Sure.
share your website address, your email. What's the best possible way that someone can get in touch with you today?
Should I type it here? How do I do it? Roire at
Okay,
hr.com is our website.
so
And
that is
then,
www.roire.com.
yep. And then my email, Irene at roire.com. I think it's Roire or IEHR. I should find out. um,
And as she's
yeah.
doing that, obviously, through her LinkedIn as well, you can see her name on here. She's really active on LinkedIn, so reach out to her on DM as well. And if that doesn't work and you still need Irene in your life, reach out to me and I will connect you to her as well. Her depth and breadth of experience that spanned throughout her career really makes you an inspiration.
Thank you. Thank you
How are
very
you
much.
doing with that?
I'm double checking. Like I don't know why I can't find it.
Well, what we can
I
do.
got it. It's
Oh, good.
Roire. It is roirehr.com. So it's Irene at roirehr.com. I was right. Glad I double checked though.
I gave my email out incorrectly the other day. It was awful. So
Yeah.
I'm really paying on that. Irene,
It's like knowing your phone number.
I don't know I know my
Yeah.
phone number. I don't know my husband's phone number. So
Oh,
I have to write it down every time we go away, just in case, because I travel so much, just in case I need to get hold of him and something's gone wrong. I mean, it's awful.
that's too funny. I know my husband's, so I give his out and not mine because I don't know mine.
Only one I know is mine, which is
Yeah.
ridiculous. What an awful
Mhm.
confession. Irene, I just want to say thank you so much for being such a fabulous guest today. Thank you for
Thank you.
everything you're doing
Well,
in the
thank
world
you.
of work. And I hope you continue to shine, because so many businesses could really benefit from you and your team's support.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was fun. This was a
It
lot of
was
fun.
fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's goodbye from me. It's goodbye
Bye.
from Irene, and cue the music.